Nerd on the Podcast is proudly partnered with Apogee Electronics and Odyssey Headphones, leaders in the field of audio.
What brought us to ToeJam and Earl, I tweeted at them.
No.
Did you just
Next
slide
question.
into the DMs of
Right out to
ToeJam
the
and Earl?
universe.
I publicly tweeted.
Oh, wow. So you just put it all out there for the world to see.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Nerd on the Podcast you didn't need but deserve, where all levels of nerd are welcome. Today, we have a special episode, but before we get too far into it, I'm going to introduce the host. My name is Tom, followed by...
Caitlin!
And
just jumping the gun.
I know, right? And special, awesome first thing is we get to include an important member of Nerd On, and we are joined by...
I'm Julie. Hello.
Julie!
I'm the secret, unlockable, hidden DLC podcast member.
I mean,
Snyder Cut, Director's Cut.
Yeah. So
character.
I do the video editing for the YouTubes and stuff.
But for both channels. She edits the podcast videos for Nerd on the Podcast channel, and then for Nerd on TV, she also does the highlights, like
The stream
every
highlights.
week.
But sometimes you're like the emotional support
It's true.
friend for Caitlin when she's
Yeah, well,
That's
Caitlin-
pretty much constantly, though. Like, Julie
Caitlin
is
and I have been
constantly my
friends for
emotional support friend.
ages at this point.
Yeah,
It's
it's been
probably
years.
not as long as it feels like, but
It does feel like a decade, but it's probably been like, what, 4 years?
maybe. No, I want to say 5.
Yeah, that's
And-
actually, yeah.
And you're also like the resident Zelda nerd
Yeah.
for Nerd On. There's
Yeah.
the Lord of the Rings nerds, there's the Destiny nerds, but you're the Zelda person.
Yes, that is my niche.
It's true.
But this episode is brought to you in part by our Patreon. Caitlin didn't join it.
You have to say the Nerd
so-
on Nation first,
Ooh.
which is powered by
By
Patreon.
Patreon. If
Tom
you
messed
are
it up.
if you
Tom
are
messed
unfamiliar
it
with
up.
Patreon, it is a service where you can support your favorite creators like us, a podcast. And with that, Patreon, being part of the Nerd On Nation, gives you awesome perks such as joining the Discord community, also being part of the World of Nerdom, also getting that Nerd On Nudge on the Nerd On Update where we answer questions from you. So you be part of the episode. Also, you get to be shouted out if you guess the right guesser, gator, grumper guesser in our Patreon. And also, you listen to never before heard episodes, like
There's
our
a lot of
minute and our
stuff.
extra. And also, all of the episodes like this, you hear it first. There's so much more, and I could have a whole episode just to talk about it. But this episode is brought to you in part by our two partners, Apogee and Odyssey. Apogee is what we're recording our audio on. If you're watching the video, you see the little A at the bottom of my frame.
And the green light that comes out of the darkness in
Yes.
my view. Yeah, that's the microphone.
We did a live show with them. Cody's the homie, you know what I'm saying?
Cody.
We're using the Hype mic as the ultimate podcasting microphone. We highly recommend it, especially for those who are, teachers, having to teach them students. You want to talk to them, you got to connect, right? You got to connect with different generations. You want to sound good, you know what I'm saying? And also for the TikTokers, it's a little crazy in the world right now. Is it going to be in America? Who knows? But you want to make sure your audio sounds good when you're
Wow,
doing it.
that was a far reach, Tom. That was a far one.
It's topical. This is no read. I got no script.
I'm
But
aware.
Apogee mics. But also Odyssey. Right now we're using our Odyssey headphones. And if your ears are like Ollie's, then they're sensitive and you need to take care of them. And these are the most comfortable that he's found. But you know what
Yeah,
they
they're-
also do if your ears are like Ollie? These taste like butter, apparently.
If is Ollie a mouth?
Ollie's ears are mouths, and they're only here for good foods. Great headphones.
I don't like that visual. Anyway, thank you to our
Happy Halloween.
sponsors. Happy Halloween. That's horrifying.
Yes.
Just little
but
tongues
without
flipping out of both sides of Ollie's
No,
head.
you didn't have to get into it.
I'm sorry. Sorry to
it's
there. I
a
had
sequel
to
to
share it
Pan's
with
Labyrinth. Instead of the hand eyes, they're ear mouths.
you.
Giant Dumbo
Worst.
ear mouths.
Worst.
Anyway, speaking of food,
Speaking of food, that brings us to our episode today. We're doing a collaboration. Josh always says we got a very special episode. Every episode's special, baby. But
true.
the reason why this one's special is because, one, we got Julie in the house, which is
it's
dope.
true.
Two,
That's, like, makes it the
Julie,
most exciting.
Julie brought in an awesome creative person into our world, and now we're going to be able to talk to him for at least an hour about foods,
Maybe
about
more.
ToeJam and
Could say.
Earl, because there is a cookbook. If you didn't think the world could get more nerdy and more cool at the same time, you thought wrong, because ToeJam and Earl Funky Fresh Foods of Funkotron Cookbook is a Kickstarter that's currently going on at the time of this recording. They're killing it right now. Julie, you got involved by a Legend of Zelda book,
Which we'll get into in the episode.
Previously, there was a Legends cookbook, and I entered this little nerdy cookbook community, and here we are.
All right. Without further ado, we're going to introduce the guest of the episode. We have Casey from Job. Thank you so much, Casey, for joining us. We are so excited to have you on. And you know, this is a big momentous occasion.
It really is, though.
because not only are we able to collaborate with very cool people, this episode wouldn't be a possibility without I don't want to say a shadow member, I don't want to say a hidden member, but an integral member of our show that makes sure that we are able to do this and provide weekly content every week. Julie, I want to pop off first real quick and introduce how, or at least have you guys introduce how this collaboration, how this episode came in. So Julie, please give us like how you and Casey know each other and why we're here today.
It's kind of how everything happens for me. I get interested in a project. So there was this Zelda cookbook on Kickstarter. What was it, last year? I was like, yes, Zelda. I love Zelda, and I want to make all the foods for Breath of the Wild. Yes. So backed that instantly. And then COVID stuff happened and delays and whatever. I was like, you know what? I'm going to join. They have a Discord server. So, you know what? I'll just hang out in there. Probably just like lurk, and everyone's going to be like a super nerd and professional food talk. And I'm just going to be too intimidated and I'll bounce after a week. It's fine. But it was great. Everybody's super nice. Everybody's like just super chill. So I ended up talking with people right away and hanging out. There are a lot of them are I would say good friends at this point. And so I've been spending a lot of time in there, and now they're launching this new cookbook for ToeJam and Earl. And it's so exciting. And so then we've got Casey here with us to talk about that. And I'm so excited because I love the idea of video game based cooking. I'm all about it.
I mean, that's what we all want to live in, a video game. So it's kind of like the closest you get, because you're like eating part of the world a little bit.
Yes. I'm so excited. I love the concept and the fact that they're now bringing a second thing to life. I just think it's incredible.
And I know that Julie can vouch for the Breath of the Wild cookbook because she made multiple
I even made the other day. Yeah.
Oh, he's got it right there, the Legends cookbook.
Yeah.
I made the meat
the book she's talking about. Yeah, I saw a picture of that on the Discord.
Yeah, the meat stew and the elixir. Oh, Caitlin, you're going to be so mad at me. So they have an ice cream recipe in there, which they call elixir. Oh. But you know what I did? Instead of making it the vanilla flavor, I used my milk tea. So I made milk tea ice cream.
Julie, you can't tag your porn in your conversations.
Next level stuff.
Before we get too far into it, Casey, it takes a village to make anything awesome and passionate and wonderful. What is your involvement with these cookbooks and bringing this to life for us?
Well, on the latest book, ToeJam and Earl, I'm the co-producer.
Ooh.
But I've done all manner of stuff since we started working on cookbooks. I helped write the Kickstarter for our first book, Mother's Cookbook. It's about the Earthbound series. I got a copy.
Nice.
Mother's Cookbook. This is the first book that we did. It's available at Fangamer. Just like, I don't know, very few copies left. It's almost sold out. Yeah, it's been on sale for a little while now. So, but if you want a copy, they're still there. And there's digitals, there's PDF copies.
Is it like a limited run of the physical copies for each book?
Yeah, it was, we had, our first edition print is about to run out. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yep,
That's
we're coming to the end of it.
Supply and demand, baby.
Mm-hmm. I feel like there's about to be a lot more demand.
Snap up a physical copy if you want, but I'm already shilling.
I mean,
that's what you're here
my job,
for.
But but yes, I worked as a writer. I helped, I I just jumped on and edited the Kickstarter for Mother's Cookbook, and then just I worked as a writer previously. I worked in video game journalism, so this was the kind of job that I could just jump right into. So I started editing the Mother's Cookbook, and then I started just kind of helping writing, and ended up just kind of going through the whole book and rewriting it with my co-writer Hillary Fromell, who was a big part of writing the first book, Mother's Cookbook.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she is mom. as much as I wrote the book, our first book comes from the perspective of the mom character in Earthbound, and so all of that voice was her. I edited all of it, but all of the mom character is Hillary in the first book.
Oh, that's so cool.
The same goes for Legends. I was the writer and editor, and I mean, I guess you could say producer, but everyone in that job does a little bit of everything. Julie will tell you. We all, I'm on social media, and then the next day I'm designing a ladle.
I'm so excited for Project Ladle. They're doing a little Halloween project right now for Legends.
That's
is that official?
Peter's love child. It is. Yeah, it is. We've announced that now.
Okay. We were breaking the news.
Yeah, I'm anxious not to get this over with, but like I actually have my they're having a Halloween recipe contest, so my cheesecake is done in the fridge, but I have to wait till this is done to taste it. So.
Oh my god!
Well, that means that I have to pressure you into unveiling it. I must see it.
Going and getting it and showing it off before we're done.
I feel like that's
show,
but I'm going to do so. I want to see it.
It's really hot today. I'm in my Zelda shorts, so if I get up, don't mind me.
That seems appropriate.
How many times has that happened during all of this quarantine that like you're in a Zoom call, but you like never guessed that you were going to stand up, so you're like not really wearing appropriate pants?
This is my first Zoom call.
This is your first Zoom call? Oh,
this whole time?
Goodness.
Me too. Yeah, this is me too.
This is your guys' first Zoom call
this afternoon.
This is a slow Tuesday for me. No, I'm kidding, but this is a huge occasion. That's awesome. I mean, we're popping
so
cherries,
many firsts
baby.
are happening right now.
I think I'm the last working guy on the internet
to not have a Zoom call at this point. Fair.
I'm sorry, we tarnished your record.
Every other platform in the last 3 months, but this one, I can check it all
for you
now.
Just for you guys.
You're welcome.
So you've had the Mother's Cookbook, you've had Legends Cookbook, and now you're working on ToeJam and Earl's Funky Fresh Cookbook, correct?
Yes.
Funky Fresh Foods of
Funky Fresh. Oh, all right. I'm happy to be
bars. You got to drop bars when you do it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We have an incredibly long title that never ceases to make me laugh after over a year and a half of saying it out loud. I still love it.
So what brought you all together with ToeJam and Earl of all things for a cookbook?
What brought us to ToeJam and Earl? I tweeted at them.
No.
Did you just slide into the DMs of ToeJam and Earl?
I publicly tweeted.
Oh wow! So you just put it all out there for the world to see.
I'm not advocating that everyone start tweeting at people they like to collaborate with them. Don't blame me when this happens.
Way ahead of you, buddy.
I will tell you the truth.
But sometimes
don't start doing that. Please don't start doing that. But I did.
It does work sometimes. Wow.
I did just tweet at them. Yeah. We were in the middle of we were deep into production on Legends Cookbook. We'd already done the Kickstarter. Mother's Cookbook was released. So we had more than one quality product to show and say, look, we're serious about this. So
we know what we're doing.
My tweet, I literally said, ToeJam and Earl, at ToeJam and Earl Cookbook when ? I mean, it was the most memey, it was classic job, it's, and I got a DM back.
Nice.
Wow.
That's what we all wish, right? Just get a little DM back every once in a while.
I got a message, like, hey, you guys actually make cookbooks.
Oh, like
this
for
wasn't
real?
Just like,
this is legit.
Oh, yeah. And then I, send him a copy of Mother's and, oh, wow, this is actually something you really want to do. It's like, well, yeah, actually, we have 6 recipes and a pitch. Because I've been wanting to do this for a while, So we immediately, as soon as there was contact, it's like, oh, I've wanted to do this since you guys announced the book. or excuse me, since you announced the Kickstarter for the latest game.
Wow.
So we were ready to go.
So how long did it take from like after you did the initial pitch, how long did it take to put the entire thing together?
I pitched, let's see. We started talking about the book not long before the game came out.
Oh, okay.
So it's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of pre-production and business and planning and figuring out. This is the first time we've worked on an official book.
Right. This is the first officially like licensed.
So it's totally And I'm in contact with Greg Johnson and Knapp over at Human Nature Studios 7 days a week.
That's so cool.
I talk to him literally every day.
Wow.
So it's a totally different process this time. It's been slower in some ways and much faster in others, because when I've got a question, I just go right to the guy who drew ToeJam. I go, hey, what shade of yellow is he supposed to be?
When you
he gives me the hexadecimal code for what color he's supposed to be, because he knows. So some things go, like that. But business-wise, it's a lot different. Because now I've been granted an official license, and I have to represent a brand to a very high degree. So it's been a while, but we officially we only really announced that we were working on it a couple of months back, and we're in the week 2 of our Kickstarter right now.
Wow.
But I've been talking to them since a little bit before the game came out, so well over a year now.
Wow. Okay.
Going back a little bit before with Mother and then Legends, where was kind of like this inspiration? I think this is the first time I've heard of cookbooks, based on, video games. I think the internet is a great place for a lot of creators to make fictional foods and then, do a video about it. But this is kind of like a nice, like, for anyone that has interest in cooking, this is a chance to, also get your little nerd on and then also, do some food stuff with. So where did this kind of, I feel like there's a momentum. There was an idea, and then there was more people, and then you got it. You're coming in. So where did this all come from?
Yeah. Well, there are other video game cookbooks. There's stuff like the Destiny cookbook, and Elder Scrolls, stuff from Activision, and people that we know, people that we've talked to about cookbooks, as we ended up being a small group of people who do a very niche job. So we become friends, right? There are other video game cookbooks. But as far as our interest in it, it started with the chef we worked on Mother's cookbook with, Brian Connor. He is a professional chef who runs a restaurant, which he was opening the restaurant during the production of Mother's cookbook, which must have been a whirlwind of opening a restaurant and producing my first book. We all met in the Earthbound community, in the Mother community, through stuff like starman.net and Earthbound Central, the Earthbound, most of the US Earthbound fan sites back in the 90s. So many of us have known each other for either a very long time, or we didn't realize we knew each other for a very long time. You only found out a few months ago that we've been talking to each other on the message boards for 15 years under a pseudonym, under a forum name. It's like, oh yeah, I've been working with you for 3 months, and it turns out that we talked 15 years ago when I was 8. Whoa. Yeah, I remember. That's happened many times lately. Because it all kind of started in the Mother community. But if you want to talk about specifically recipes, it started with Brian. He's a professional chef, and he was putting up recipes that were food directly from Earthbound, specifically Earthbound being the second game in the Mother series. It's called Earthbound here in the United States. So at the time, he was doing strictly food from that game and the US version of it, which there's some food differences in the US and the Japanese version. We have a little section about that in the book.
Nice.
So he was already doing this. He was putting them up on his blog, and it was his thing. And it was my business partner, Evan, who approached him and, put together the idea of, let's take these off a blog and put them in a book, and let's get some artwork and some great photography. And they were well into, they were just starting the Kickstarter when I said, "Hey, I would like to take a look at that if you don't mind." He was working on Mother to Earth. I don't know if you guys read about Mother to Earth. It's a documentary about the mother community, which was also
I have
it was worked on by it just came out recently, and my business partner Evan's the co-producer of it. It's kind of part of the job family of stuff. So I was working games journalism, and Evan wanted some press for his movie, and we started talking, and it was like we know each other from the mother community, and hey, what are you working on? Well, I'm working on this cookbook. It's like, oh, I edit books.
Oh,
Send me your
I know how to
Kickstarter.
do that.
Send me your Kickstarter. And we're 3.5 books deep because we did a little mini cookbook for Animal Crossing.
Yeah, the Helping
3 or 4 months
Horizons
ago.
mini.
Yeah, Helping Horizons. Yeah,
Easy.
that was another project of Peter's, our chef on Legends Cookbook.
Yeah,
that was his doing.
That.
Yeah.
I can share my
digital
PDF
book.
with you.
Yes, please.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Yeah.
That's awesome. So Julie, you were introduced for Legends.
Yes, Legends is where I came in. I learned about mothers and stuff afterwards, just in talking with everybody, because I'm the big Zelda nerd. I've even got my Zelda shirt right now,
and the Zelda shorts, and
my Link poster on the wall.
Oh, I see that in the corner there.
So what would you be able to tell the audience who are going to be interested in the ToeJam and Earl cookbook about your experience with the Legends cookbook?
Oh my God, it's incredible. Just the amount of care that goes into not just like the book, but the recipes themselves. I've been completely obsessed with like my goal is, even if it's something where I normally wouldn't eat, like I'm gonna make everything in the book. I'm gonna do it because it's just like everything that I've made and tasted is nothing like I've experienced before, especially for home cooking. Like it makes you feel like you can do anything. There's a whole even before you get started with any of the recipes, there's whole sections of like, here's a whole glossary of common terms in cooking and baking so that you don't feel lost. Here's different knife types and what they're used for. Here's different cuts of meats and what you do with them. Here's how to prepare fish. Like they walk you through, like it's so welcoming to all levels.
Y'all, let me just on that specific note, like so many cookbooks are just like, here's a bunch of phrases and things you've never heard of. Make sure that you julienne the thing. And if you've never heard of julienning something before, you're like, who's Julienne?
Yeah.
Like what's
her name? What's her DM?
I don't know a Julienne. Can I not do that to the carrots now? Like, what do I do? So like that kind of an explanation coming in the cookbook and being all laid out for you.
Yeah, and it's the first pages. It's the very first pages. Like, sometimes cookbooks have a glossary, but it's in the back. No, it's the first things that you go through is all of your intros of like, here we go. Here's everything that you might need to know if you want to learn how to cook.
Can I tell you something funny about that? At one point, I wanted to put them in the back of the book. I think we had some arguments about it because I thought it felt like school.
I mean,
like if you opened it and you had to read the glossary of terms before I let you.
I mean, you don't have to, but it's nice that it's there. First.
I know, but it felt like, oh boy, this might be a little work.
I mean, but all things like, since it's video game, it actually makes sense that it comes first because it's your tutorial.
Yes.
Yeah. So I love it. I think it's the correct. I wouldn't change a thing. But I remember thinking, like, man, I don't know. I think they just want to see a pretty picture, man.
No, okay.
Put some of the art up front, like.
Pictures. Can we talk about? Oh my God, Legends Cookbook and Funky Fresh. I know is going to be the same, but like, Legends Cookbook was the first cookbook that I have ever had in my life where there was a picture for every recipe.
Yeah,
it's right there next. I actually sent a picture not long after I joined the Discord and got my physical copy. And was like going through the book. I was like, I'm actually mad now because I got this other like fancy cookbook for Christmas for my mom. And like that book is a disaster compared to this. It's literally, they've squashed like up to 4 recipes.
They have no idea what they're doing.
Blocks of text everywhere. And so I was just like, I hate reading this other book now. And I feel bad because it was a Christmas present. But like every cookbook like this. Picture recipe. Like what? Why? I want to know what I'm making. I want to know if it looks right at the end. Like
right.
Yes.
I was so
really,
happy
it's just that
to
my
see.
partner takes amazing photos.
Yeah, and
Just
photos
does
when he
help.
takes photos, I'm gonna
beautiful.
use them. It's that simple. You
I
know,
don't
if
have
he's
my
gonna
copy
take
next to
photos
me,
like
but
that, I'm gonna
that
put
would
them
be
in the book.
Yeah, the pictures
Yeah.
are wonderful, and actually, being in the Discord, every once in a while, Evan would share sneak peeks of behind the scenes when they're doing the photo shoots, and it's pretty fun to see. They're clearly all having fun with it, and that just makes me all the happier. You know, this
And
was definitely a
photos is the
product
fun part.
of love, and I can feel that. I feel it.
In
I'm
It's a
glad it's
cookbook
working.
that's experience, not just recipes.
Yes.
for
I
this
mean-
Discord, we've mentioned multiple times now. Is this for all the cookbooks for everyone that's, or is these for a particular audience?
It started as Legends cookbooks, but there's kind of everybody's filtering
Exactly.
in. So,
It started out as Legends Cookbook, but it's just become kind of
The
de facto
cookbook.
yeah, it's
Discord
it's the
server.
nerdy cookbook hangout
Yes.
place.
Peter.
So we got
has,
some Mother in there. We got some Horizon helping
Helping
Horizon.
Horizon.
If you come into the Discord, it's entirely Zelda themed right now.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But
At the
we
moment.
talk about everything.
It's the place where everybody hangs out who's into anything that we do. It doesn't have to be cookbook related. We've got, Batter's Almanac, our calendar series that we do, which we're probably not going to end up doing next year, unfortunately. But, more Mother and Earthbound stuff. It's just kind of like the Job hub. It's Zelda themed because Peter's put a ton of work into all the games and bots and fun things that you can play on our Discord. It's a crazy place.
You
There's
can
all
do
sorts of
jobs
stuff
in the
going on.
town and get money and buy items. And
We got a whole role-playing game going on with the
It's pretty
currency
fun.
that you. It's fun. Yeah, people have a lot of fun. Come hang out. It's open to everybody. We'll give you the link.
Yes,
So-
please give
We'll
us the
make
link.
sure that is listed.
It's a
below.
public Discord. Yeah, where everyone's welcome to come hang out with us and share photos.
Talk about
and
recipes. Just
Yeah.
it's all
share
food
what we
porn.
cooked for dinner. That's what I do anyway. That's kind of the only post you'll see from me. This is what I cooked tonight.
I think that's also really important of garnering a community, mainly, at least for this direction where I'm going to take it, is, with Kickstarters, right? Legends was Kickstarted. Mother was Kickstarted as well. And now we have ToeJam and Earl Funky Fresh Foods, a Funkotron, being Kickstarted. How is that process like from, hey, we have the idea, we have the product in our head, we can work on it, and then getting out to the public of saying like, hey, this is, the goals we're setting for ourselves, and this is how we keep it live and updated, and, garner like conversations between people who are very interested in it or people who are brand new to one, cookbooks, or two, ToeJam and Earl. How's that process like?
It's a learning process.
That sounds
I'll
about
tell you
right.
that. I'll tell you that I hope that we've gotten better at it now at the third book and at God knows how many Kickstarter campaigns at this point to do stuff like Batter's Almanac and the documentary. And they were all Kickstarter fund. Everything has been crowdfunded. The communities are who shows up and lets us do these crazy things. We put a lot of money and time into it long before it hits Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
So, and a lot of preparation, a lot of pre-production, a lot of recipes, things are already as done as they can be within our limited means until we get funding. But Kickstarter, we try really hard to make it fun because it can be really hard.
Yeah.
It's always hard. Business is always hard, but a crowdfunding is very complicated. You have a direct responsibility to your audience.
Very direct.
Immediately.
Yeah.
The second that they choose to spend even a cent, even before the campaign has finished and whether it's fulfilled or not, I already owe you a debt. And that debt is a finished delivered product, and it is a lot of responsibility to deal with. Well, I mean, we're dealing in lower number, but we're not making a multi-million-dollar movie or anything. But
Not yet.
Not yet.
I don't know. I mean,
Cookbook universe?
documentary.
Oh my god, Cookbook
Cookbook
Universe.
Cinematic Universe.
CBCU.
It's just the Iron Chef, but all of the video games?
Ooh, hey, I could work on that.
I'm just
I'll write it.
saying,
Missed it.
I would be a judge to eat all the stuff.
But no, I think
Well,
that's
there
really
you go. Hey, there's a role for everyone.
There
Yes.
is. I'm so ready to eat it.
I think that's really important that you talk about, just because you are, this idea of, you have fealty and loyalty to people who just glance at it. Because again, I have to draw attention to the fact that this episode wouldn't be possible without someone that,
Join the
donated to
Kickstarter.
one Kickstarter and then
Right.
create
Yeah.
a relationship. It's like you don't know what's going to happen. So putting your best foot forward and being as, earnest and transparent, but also as hardworking, and I think there's something to attest to the fact that like you have, successful Kickstarters, as much as the community is involved and, it's within certain, fandoms and communities, like there's a lot of hard work. So, I mean, what would you say to somebody who is also trying to do a Kickstarter, maybe not in the same vein of what you guys done, but any type of creative endeavor?
What would I say to any?
For
any
advice,
creative
not just be like, hey,
No,
don't,
I
it's too
understand. No, I
stressful.
understand.
Make a lot of money.
That's interesting. That's
No.
interesting.
Get on a podcast.
Well, I guess I would say that you have to have very realistic expectations about your goal is the first thing I say, because I've worked with a lot of other people for Kickstarter advice, and my first advice is, well, your goal is about 80% higher than it should be. It's about, so there's my first piece of direct advice. However much money you think you're going to make about half of that.
Yeah.
So just cut that out now. There's direct useful advice, but something that's a little more, I don't know, hermit in the woods-ish, old man with a beard who gives
that.
enlightening speeches.
Okay.
Dalai Lama, please.
Give us the
I'm ready for this one.
There you go. I would have pulled that if I was as smart as you.
No.
I guess my advice would be to know exactly who your audience is and know how to engage with them. Because even if you're making a brand new, a lot of people go on Kickstarter to make a brand new product that doesn't really fit into a category that well. You don't have a huge audience to work off of. You've got a new innovation, right? But you have to respect the way the community runs itself before you've arrived. Because a lot of people show up with their way of doing things and their way of talking that works great for them, but then they go interface with an outside community and they don't gel so well. We've been able to move from the Earthbound community to Zelda to now ToeJam, and we've been warmly received every time because we don't show up and brute force our personalities on everyone and go, hey, you have to deal with us weird Earthbound fans now. Like we're in the ToeJam world, so you're gonna have to deal with us being strange and like in an RPG you guys didn't play on a console you don't own. We don't. We figure out. Well, what are those guys like? How do they interact with each other? It's a completely different world, and we try to respect the world that they have set up before we got there.
That's wonderful.
It's easy for us to do because we're working inside of other people's IP. But you can be broader with it and say, if you're working in a specific technology sector or a specific type genre of video game, be broader with it and just say, go look at their community and ask yourself, do I know how to interact with them? And if you don't, you need to just maybe quietly observe for a while and figure out how they join their Discords, be polite and be a part of the community instead of forcing yourself on the community. Nobody wants to be sold to. They want to be a part of the group.
They want to feel represented.
Exactly. I'm not showing up here to say, hey, remember that Earthbound thing we did? Let's just do the same thing with ToeJam. We come in and go, well, what is the ToeJam and Earl community like? We want their vibe because I know how to do Earthbound. I've hung out with those dudes for a really long time. All the men and women in that group are all weird and diverse and eccentric and fun. And I think I kind of figured that one out. But you go talk to ToeJam and it's a
little different.
A whole different world. Their memes are different. They got totally different memes, So that's my advice. Don't force yourself on a community. Go figure out who you're selling to and figure out how they've already got a community established. So what are their rules? They wrote their own rule book.
So how do
you
be
need to
part
play
of
their game? You know? Yeah. Be a part of their experience. Don't make them a part of yours.
Yeah.
Understand before you're understood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
Very
awesome.
much.
I really like that. So I mean,
I hope that helps somebody.
no, I think that's great. I mean, hey, any type of knowledge I think is going to find somebody somewhere, and who knows?
You never know what's going to resonate with somebody.
Yeah.
But speaking of resonating, especially with the ToeJam community, what was all of your experience with ToeJam up to this point?
Not all
Up
at
to
once.
right now.
Yes. I'll go first. How about
I was
that?
gonna say.
How
Okay.
about that? I'll go first because Casey, I think you explained it very, very well. Especially, I think in such a way, I feel you have almost like a scholastic experience at this point.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I think ToeJam and Earl was too cool for me as a kid. On all honesty, like I remember
All
when
right.
hearing about like doing this episode, I was like, yeah, I remember that. And then I was like, why? I never had a console, but I always knew that like there was a new game coming out. Like, and that was the thing that was like you were saying, like that community was strong and held itself up by its own 2 feet. And I recently just started playing the new game on Steam. And it's I could see why so many people loved it. And so for me, it was kind of like that one thing where it was like, if you had Cartoon Network, then you knew people who had Nickelodeon. And that was kind of the thing where like I did not have a Sega Dreamcast. So I didn't have those consoles to play those games. So they weren't part of my childhood in that way. But playing it recently and my experience at this point has been pretty enjoyable. And I'll be honest, like, look, I'm 29 and I'm not feeling fine over the fact that I played the new game and it's so hard. It's so hard. And I was just like, whoa.
You guys, I'm really excited to talk
Welcome
about my
to the world of old
experience.
school games.
Yeah.
Welcome to the world of old school games and semi-roguelike. A roguelike.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right? Which is always brutal. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, the weird thing is kind of like like the vibe of it. I remember seeing commercials of it and seeing like, it felt like, and this is like a weird analogous to it, was just like that Pokemon commercial where they all get into the bus and they all get squished.
Yes.
And then they turn to the Game Boy. Like
Yes.
that's that vibe where it was like, it was cartoony enough for me to be enjoying it, but then it had its own little humors about it that was like, as a kid, I know I'm not understanding
early
this.
90s
Yeah.
Oh, very.
It's just so
Very.
subculture. It just screams, you're not in this group. Like,
Yes.
well, you could be if you want to.
But
We're
yeah, that was the
very
thing.
invited,
You wanted
but
to
it
be
just-
part of it.
yeah.
It was the cool kids. You were like, what?
Uh-huh.
I want to know. It's like a
But they're
Family Guy reference
just,
you don't
like,
understand.
Weird and dopey enough that they weren't intimidated.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
They're the
Yeah.
cool guys, but they aren't too cool for you. They're like, hey, you want to hang out?
You're like,
they're not like
yeah.
smoking cigarettes by the dumpster and like, who are you? You're in 7th grade. Like the ToeJam and Earl guys are cool, and they go, hey, you can be cool too, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just
You're
playing
like,
slap
oh,
bass over
okay.
here.
Yeah.
You guys like funk?
How about you,
You like
Caitlin?
funk? I was laughing at because I was watching you stream ToeJam and Earl, the new game, and how difficult of a time you're having. And I was like, oh man, because I've always known about ToeJam and Earl, but I hadn't ever played it before. So this was actually the first time I had ever played it. And watching Tom play it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a really difficult game. And the first time I played through, I was done in like less than 2 hours. I had maxed out my luck.
Did you play with ToeJam or did you play with Earl?
I
Or did you play with Letitia?
I played with Earl,
Okay.
and I just whizzed through, and I was like, "Wow, that was fun."
What difficulty did you play on?
Normal?
I had even specifically talked with Caitlin because I played it before she played it. And I was like,
Mhm.
Caitlin, this is definitely very old school game.
She made me really
Difficult?
worried.
Like I played it for 7 hours and I can't finish
I was
this game.
so
Here's the
worried.
thing. I don't want to. I gotta interrupt because I don't
Yes.
want to turn people off of playing Back
No,
in the
it's-
Groove.
it's
'cause
not-
No,
gets too
it was
difficult.
great.
No.
Here's the thing about Back in the Groove. It's very similar to the first game in many
Yes.
ways.
Yes.
In that there is it's going to take you a little while to learn the right way to play it. And when you learn how to play it, all of a sudden, most things that you thought were difficult, you're like, oh, I was just approaching this the wrong way.
Yeah.
There was like 4 presents I could have used to just skip all this, and I never would have had to have done it at all. And it gets so easy when you start to figure things out, but it requires you to do 30 runs.
Yeah.
You have to play. All of it. I mean, it is a roguelike in the classic sense, in that you will learn, and then it will just be like breezing through.
You guys.
And then it starts to get difficult when you play endless mode and you keep going.
Yeah.
But you will learn how to play, and then all of a sudden it's a different experience. Were you playing by yourself?
Yeah, I feel like
co-op.
I was playing by myself, and I feel like the truest way to be really good is to be very adept at running away before there's even danger, which is what I'm very good at.
Early, absolutely.
Oh yeah,
if you've got a bunch of presents and you've
I got through like 3 worlds without using a single present because I was constantly running away from people. And it came to a point where they're like, I have too many presents. It came to the point where like the helpful characters were like, I will buy presents off of you. Like, please stop holding all of them. And I was like, maybe I'll just use them, I guess. There really are. Like, it can be whatever you want.
The Secret Service guys kept getting me and kept, haxing my gifts. And I was like, dude, I barely have anything to stop like lawnmower dude. And I'm just like,
that mechanic is there, like specifically to make sure you don't hoard presents. Yeah. Because if you do, you're going to have to deal with that guy. So you can't hang on to your good presents because you're just going to lose them. It forces you to use them much more often.
I did one
It's a really
run.
good game mechanic. It's really frustrating, but it's a really good game mechanic.
I did one run as ToeJam, and I was fine. I was able to get through it. And then Earl, I was just like, why are you so slow?
Really?
Yep.
Like ToeJam is so much faster.
Yeah. No, I went as Earl.
Yeah.
I went as Earl.
Well, I mean, it also depends on the
like,
stats that you roll and how it goes throughout the game, and you can get different speed buffs and things.
That's true. I got speed and luck, and that was like maxed out all the way. So I was like, do. Nope.
Julie, what was
luck
your
is very strong. You made a good choice. Luck is a very strong.
I didn't mean to. I mean, they just kind of fell in my lap, but that was all right.
Nap, if you're seeing this, maybe you need a nerf luck a little bit. We're gonna have a discussion after the podcast.
Yeah.
They just dropped a new patch, and I'm gonna be like, "Hey, can we make some changes?"
For me, I felt like I wasn't really like mad or anything. I felt like I was just getting bad RNG because it is randomized in like the levels and what items you get and what enemies are there. And like I kept getting a lot of levels where it's like there's a part where it's not connected to the other part and there's no secret path to connect it. And so if I was on the level above and some enemy knocked me off the edge, I'd land on the small secluded part where there's no elevator. So I'd have to go down to the next level to go back up to get to the elevator to get back up. And then there was one I quit a run. I quit a run because I kept getting, there was a tornado, like there was one near
the tornado.
This is my favorite thing about ToeJam.
Oh, it's so good.
There was no way to get past the tornado, so I got like yeeted off of the side of this level like 6 times in a row. And I was like, I forget it. I can't get past this. I'm too slow.
My favorite
I'm done.
The thing that makes me love ToeJam so much is exactly what you're saying right now.
Yeah.
It is such a chill, cool, everyone's happy. We're vibing. There's weird shapes. Everyone's calm.
But inside.
You're going to fall 6 levels and lose 40 minutes of progress.
Yeah.
The dichotomy.
When it's rough, it's
be
rough.
more different. It's totally chill and calm. Game, brutally difficult. Usually a brutally difficult game has a brutally difficult aesthetic. It's medieval and it's very harsh and there's fire and dragons and
Dark Souls.
No, we're all chilling eating sandwiches, but like also we will smack you off the level and just
bad cheese or Sunday. I feel like now I'm compelled. Like I really want to come back and play co-op because I had such a seamless, flawless run. Then I can blame all of the problems on the other person.
Yes. Well, and also too, another thing that I want to mention about Back in the Groove, I was amazed when I opened up the game to see that it has crowd control support.
Dear.
About that. Mm-hmm. For those who don't know, crowd control is a Twitch extension where people can use bits to get coins to use in this extension and use those coins to buy effects to screw with you in the game. And so I had no idea that at all, because I feel like, so my little bit of history with ToeJam and Earl, I think we did have it when we were kids because we did have a Genesis, but I have an older brother, so I wasn't allowed to play on the Genesis.
Of course not.
So,
Of course not.
Like even like my brother's
We call that an
great.
explanabrag.
He's not like a bully or anything, but he was definitely the type where like even just like sitting in the room watching him play Sonic, if he made a mistake, he'd be like, "You made me mess up," you know. So
Classic. Yep.
Oh,
Classic.
siblings with games. It's so real though.
So I never got to play if we did have it. So I was really excited to finally get to play, and yeah, it was everything that I thought it was going to be. And so I'm kind of like one day, like I want to see what it's like with crowd control, because I'm sure it's going to be, you know, all the good stuff
chaos.
in the worst way.
Pure chaos. I feel like this game, I know we were just like, it's so hard and things happen.
No,
and
but
I was like bragging, but you know, it's kind of like Mario Kart. Like you have the runs that you do really, really well, and you're like, man, that was really good. I'm really good at this. And then you're like really terrible in one, and you're like, whatever, the next one I'll be amazing. So it's like you have that kind of feeling, but it's more relaxed, but you also have the panic when you're like running away from the little devil man that wants to poke you in the butt. And like, like it's very difficult, but it's difficult in the way that you're excited to talk about how it's difficult.
And it's hard in that way. It's in that classic way where it's like, of course, because you know, back in the day, like you only had like 1 or 2 games, so this is what you would spend all your time with.
Hours
you know?
and hours and hours and hours, and you can do a lot of hours in this game.
Yeah,
easy.
It's really good. Yeah, like it's like what Casey was saying. It's like it's you know your rogue. You know, it's
randomized every time.
But going back to the cookbook a bit, for ToeJam and Earl's Funky Fresh Foods from Funkotron, I have to say the whole name
Tom.
every time.
Thank you, Tom.
Funky
for being
Fresh Foods is
the
fine,
responsible
but
one.
I love saying the whole name.
I feel like that's the precedent now.
Yeah,
and also
it's,
just I guess
it's so much fun.
No, it's
talking about the books from before. What is some of the processes or systems in order to choose which foods you're going to include in the book, or what are the inspirations of the ingredients you're going to particularly use? Is there any type of science behind that, or
because give us like you have a couple recipes that are currently out, things like ketchup cookies, moldy bread. There was like an Earl Grey.
The Earl Grey cookies.
Earl Grey cookies. Yeah.
Tomato jam.
There's like, how do you pick that from the game, I think is what Tom is asking. And especially with like such crazy like recipes too. Moldy bread.
Yes.
Moldy bread is one of my favorites. It was like one of the first things we did for this book. It was moldy bread was done. We shot a video for that for the ToeJam and Earl telethon over a year ago.
Wow.
That was the first recipe for this book. It was like,
moldy bread.
This actually tastes good. Yeah, check this out, dude. Like,
so
this is delicious.
It
sounds terrible, but when you read the ingredients,
you're like, oh,
I want all of all of it. Give it to me.
Yeah. Well, we're always looking at the food that's directly in the game, right? Every game we've worked with has got, just food right in it. We don't have to work too hard on some of them, but we are definitely never have we released a book that's simply here's all the food that's in the game, but we made it and took a picture of it. There's every recipe that we've put in these books is always inspired by the game as a whole.
Right.
It is not the food that's in the game, because Mother has a lot of food in it. So did we make most of that food directly from the game? Absolutely. But there's some stuff in there that's not in the game, right?
Right.
We're always looking at the game as a complete cohesive package. We're listening to the soundtrack. We've played the game many times over, or known the series as a whole for a very long time. Have some personal connection to it. That's why we choose where we go in the first place, is that we know that we care a lot about that intellectual property to begin with, right?
Mm.
And we're looking at the characters, the story, the locations, the names of everything, anything that is. I mean, especially with something like ToeJam, we're allowed to just be as weird as you want, right? There's not a whole lot of restrictions I have to work within. It's just, hey, these guys are weird and funny. You guys are kind of weird, and we laugh at you sometimes. So, like, we could probably handle that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Earl Grey cookies. I think that was Evan's pitch. That was when him and I first started talking about ToeJam.
So
we had like 6 recipes that we came up with immediately. Wow. It was just like, what are the, like, can we just pitch them 5, like, in the next 20 minutes? Can you just DM them 5? It was like, okay. Evan and I, we sat down, we had 5 ideas. It was like, Patrick, our video guy, was involved in that too.
Wow.
And he was pitching food ideas. None of us are the chef, but we
right.
just,
you're just like,
pitch,
could
right?
be this.
What could possibly
we didn't have a chef yet. We hadn't even met June yet at this part of the story. She wasn't even in our lives yet.
Right.
So it was down to the 3 of us. And we came up with the Nizza pizza recipe, which Patrick shot that excellent photo of skateboarding pizza, video of skateboarding pizza. That's the pinned tweet on my Twitter feed if you want to watch Patrick's very funny video.
Nice.
We need to repost it on the ToeJam account. I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
It's really funny. And Moldy Bread, that was another of Patrick's creations. He did a great videos and pictures of that. And Earl Grey cookies, I think those were the first 3 that we came up with. And they were just Discord riffing, very similar to this.
Wow.
I mean, we've already done 2 books and worked with 2 awesome chefs. We all learned some stuff along the way. None of us are cooks, but we've all gotten a lot better at it, And like I said, ToeJam, it's not pulling teeth by any means. It's vibrant with inspiration.
Oh, there's so much food in that game.
You don't have to. Yeah,
that's how you get your health.
Just food. It's just everything. Just the vibrant colors and the bouncy music.
Encourages you
when I
get funky.
Go ahead, Julie.
Yeah. It definitely encourages, like, get weird, get interesting, be out there.
I think that's what cooking is all about. I mean, for me, I'm not a baker at all. But you give me some ingredients, I'll find some to make. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. When it's like the last day before you have to go to the grocery store, you're like, what's left here?
I was like, that'll taste good. I'm sure that'll taste good.
There's a few recipes in the book that might be up your alley then.
Yeah.
But not as many as you'd think, though. Not as many as you'd think. I think a lot of people think that a ToeJam and Earl cookbook would be nothing but that. Excuse me. But it is definitely not. I don't know. We don't like super advertise it on the Kickstarter right now, but ToeJam and Earl Funky's Fresh Foods of Funkotron has no red meat in it.
Oh, yeah.
This is the first time we're doing that.
That's big in LA, baby.
Oh yeah.
That's the first time we've done that.
Cookbook, healthy eating cookbook.
We've got chicken and fish, but only and just a couple of dishes. It's mostly meat free, honestly. And of course, you got to have Earl's hot dog. That's where we compromised. We teach you how to make a turkey dog. We do have substitutes and things to class it up a little bit, but we couldn't lose the hot dog. That's you got to have the long burger and the hot dog, right? Yeah. So.
But even that is something very unique for a cookbook to do, to just kind
hot dog.
Well, not the hot dog, but just like, how can we make this how can we stay away? Everyone always does all kinds of meats and whatever. How can we make this like more healthy focused, more vegetarian focused, but still bring that ToeJam and Earl funk to it, And I think that like the beet cake, I think is so creative and amazing.
Oh yeah, June's beet cake is. I mean, if you go to the pictures of the beet cake are on the Kickstarter, so you guys can all see those pictures. We've shared them, and they're on the Twitter. There, if you want to take a look at that, that's one of my favorite things. We couldn't not put it on the Kickstarter. It was like, I want to keep that one though. It's so good.
It looks beautiful.
No, okay, just put it up there. Like the beet cake's awesome, and our beets. This is my favorite artwork we did. The 8 notes of beats. Yeah.
Oh.
As Art Blaster, Brian, our artist, did a fantastic job on that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go about selecting which chef is going to be the chef for the book?
We've worked with 3 different chefs now, and we've Brian went on to start his restaurant and run his restaurant. So, it was time we had to go find another chef to work with. But we always talked about working with different chefs and different people. In the case of June, that was an accident.
Nice. That's
really
awesome. I love it.
Yeah, that was an accident. June is related to an artist who worked with us on Legends and Mothers. Yeah, on both on
Wow.
Mothers
Oh.
and Legends Cookbook. Yeah, sister-in-law, and
Wow.
yeah, and they're very close with my business partner. You know, they live in proximity and they're quite close friends, the family. And my business partner had no idea that there was someone new in the family who knew how to cook. And they were at a wedding of all places. I hate to tell his story, but he's not here. So I mean, I guess I will quickly. You know, they were at a wedding, and she quickly whipped up a salad dressing or something of that sort. I mean, like I said, it's not my story. But Evan had no idea that she was a cook. He said, "Oh, you're a chef. We make cookbooks."
And then
what are we doing here? Yeah, I mean, again,
physically tweeted at her.
It was he ran into another chef. Well, great. Let's
make it
What do we
happen.
do with that?
We're
Yeah.
doing Legends with Peter. Peter's did Helping Hands, the Animal Crossing mini book. He's working on that. He's doing other things and managing our Discord. And we're going to go do ToeJam. And we've got a different chef to work with this time, so we can do twice as much stuff.
Wow.
And June's super cool. So it worked out great.
That's awesome. I feel like
That was luck of the draw.
Yeah, I was gonna say
That was
sometimes
luck
you
of the
get
draw.
really lucky. Sometimes you make your own luck, and sometimes that just works out. Like when you do all this hard work, and then all of a sudden the luck happens, and then
Just like in ToeJam and Earl.
Yeah.
That is how ToeJam and Earl works. If you didn't
100%.
know.
Maybe.
I think I got one last thing before we wrap it up, unless anyone else wants to get some questions out there, baby.
I feel like I just want to make recipes now.
So
I just want to cook.
So that being said, the Kickstarter ends at October 30th.
Correct.
You guys
Before Halloween.
are trailblazing, killing the goals that I have up here on the time of this recording. Where can they find more information about it, yourself, and everything that's going on with ToeJam and Earl or any other cookbooks?
The best place for ToeJam is definitely at Funky Fresh Book on Twitter. That's where if we're not on the Discord, which I can't just say the link, but we can post it. I'll share it.
KR7Q.
But come on over to our Twitter account for ToeJam and Earl. If you're not in the ToeJam and Earl community already, you should follow the ToeJam and Earl account because it's incredibly fun and weird and just a fun place to hang out on the internet. You don't have to have the game or even understand it. It's just memeing all day long. And
it's beautiful.
Now we get to interact with that account. So we have a sub account that memes back.
Wow.
Which is, basically just my cookbook account. Now we promote the cookbook by memeing back at them. So come hang out with us while we meme at each other on Twitter at Funky Fresh Book. The link to the Kickstarter and all that stuff's there, right on the front page of Twitter. What else? Can
they get in touch with you
Discord.
at all?
Yeah, you can follow me if you want. I don't, tweet a whole lot or anything, but I'm definitely around. It's at For the Win, PFHOR the Win. It's the old 90s PC game reference.
Yeah,
I've had that. That name stuck with me since I was about 10.
Oh, wow.
I can't drop it.
Don't worry, I understand
For the
that.
love of the game.
Yeah. I post music stuff. I'm a musician and stuff about the cookbook there a bunch and all the other stuff we're doing. We work on documentaries and calendars and aprons.
Wow.
Check out our merch. Yeah, we didn't talk about the rest of the stuff we do. It's not just cookbooks. If you check out the Kickstarter, along with your cookbook, we've got ToeJam and Earl t-shirts, new designs that are based on our book with our artwork, t-shirts, sticker sets, pins, the ToeJam and Earl apron. Yeah, which is my favorite thing is that certain backer tiers get an apron with their copy of the book. The book's available hardcover, softcover, or a PDF. You can get any combination of them. Depends on your Kickstarter tier and such. But yeah, come hang out. We've been giving away copies of Back in the Groove and trying to play with the community.
Oh, that's so cool.
And stuff like that. We're gonna do stuff
community
next week. I'm
contests.
gonna play with people. which is going to be fun.
Yeah,
We didn't even talk about community challenges, the new thing we're doing.
We're rolling it all out. Do it all, baby.
Earlier we talked about, trying to make Kickstarter fun, and that's definitely the community challenges we've been doing. Last week we had people sauteing DS cartridges.
I
line them up, I don't know if you guys saw that.
You gotta.
The information on how to participate in all this stuff is available on the Kickstarter page. But quickly, we're doing community challenges, which is just a way to engage with the audience of ToeJam fans without making you back or spend any money. It's just Twitter interactions. We're posting, funny competitions and things to do that are weekly. And we're giving away different prizes at the end of the week, free copies of the game. And we had some signed artwork and things like that. We had a fan art competition. Last week we had people cooking ToeJam and Earl or consuming ToeJam and Earl in any way. Really, it was just any video game. We had people putting their Switch between two pieces of bread and making themselves a Switch sandwich.
Yep.
And, a guy,
Tom is face palming so hard.
I hollowed out an egg.
Fried. Yeah. I
hollowed out an egg
Julia.
and put. Well, it worked out perfect because, originally I was looking for a game. I was like, do I have one where if it gets destroyed, it doesn't matter? Like, is there a game I don't care about in my collection? Couldn't find one. I was like, all right. But then there was a cracked egg in the container. So I was like, oh, this has to be thrown out anyways because it's gross inside. But it wasn't like cracked where it was like dipped in the shell. It was like a seam. So I was like, so I just like squeezed it gently until it split in half, emptied out the gunk. And then I was like, how many DS cartridges can I fit in here? Glued it back together and just
Google
left
that
it.
real quick. How many DS cartridges can I fit in a half an egg?
I mean, it's a question you have to ask yourself sometimes.
The answer is 4, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me know.
Answers in the back of the textbook.
Yeah, then I glued it
get
back
uncomfortably
together.
close to the camera when I say thank you for letting me know that.
Glued it back together and then set it up, put it back in the car. I actually had to rush because I didn't want my mom to catch me throwing an egg at the floor.
So what I have to explain.
While she was preoccupied,
What are you doing exactly?
I kept it in my room so it wouldn't accidentally get,
used.
And so I went to the kitchen.
Any parents caught what people do on our Discord that you and I hang out in, Julia, all of them would be grounded.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Everyone's going to have to go to their room. And it might be me who sends them there sometimes.
Yeah, so then I put it in the fridge and went like I was actually going to make breakfast, but I really just turned it and I threw it at the floor and it flew so much harder than I expected.
It shattered.
It went everywhere, but it was fine. It worked out. I only had one take, so I had to make it work. And then so someone else who hangs out in the Cookbook Discord was like, oh man, like I had a similar idea, but I think it's different enough that it'll be fine. Like, I promise I'm not copying. And I was like, oh dude, don't even worry. Like, we're just all mad people in here anyways. So so he's the one who he won because he actually put a Switch cartridge in a full egg and cracked it in the pan.
Tom died inside.
Fried the egg and then he threw the egg at the wall. It was beautiful.
Wow.
It was everything I wanted to be.
It validated every second of every day.
Wow.
The past 3.5 years.
Wow.
Of writing cookbooks. I have worked on a cookbook since the day I started writing that Kickstarter. There's not a day has gone by that I have not done something cookbook related.
Wow.
And that was the moment where
that was the one.
It was that, you know what? There was I don't want to discredit this one, but the week before we had an art contest and somebody graffitied ToeJam and Earl Funky Fresh book at a skate park.
They also hang out in the Discord.
Yes, they're also a Discord member. Yeah.
She's the one who actually inspired.
From way back. So that touched me a lot. And I saw that as that's maybe the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it was very cute. It was very, very
that
cute.
Might be it. That was before I saw someone literally ruin a $60 video game.
Yeah,
and some scrambled eggs.
In complete honesty, she's the one that inspired the egg antics. Because she.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, she shared a video in the Discord where she just bit into an egg.
Oh, I did see that video. I saw that on Twitter.
Well, I want all of the listeners to go check that out. We'll have the links in our description.
All the myriad links.
Yeah, so once this episode comes out, you'll be able to find it. Casey, thank you so much for swinging by, spending some time with us. This is so exciting. I love, Nerd On is all about the nerdy stuff. I can't speak for everyone here, because that's just wrong. But I like cooking and anything that combines two of the things that bring joy to people that can consume, cooking, eating, as well as playing video games. I'm excited about it. We appreciate. Thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you both for coming in and sharing all your love of cooking and throwing eggs and video games with us.
I'm very excited for Funky Fresh. I love cooking.
Heck yeah.
We've been having a ton of fun working with the ToeJam community, and I just hope everyone out in the ToeJam world digs it as much as we do. We're having tons of fun hanging out with this weird, funky people. It's fun.
That's awesome. Thanks again. Wasn't that fun?
Is that your impression of Josh?
I have to do it every time. Wasn't Oakley Dokley?
Wasn't that a good time, everyone?
Okay, Julie, you do your Josh.
Wasn't that great, everybody?
Caitlin, you do yours.
Wasn't that fun, guys?
It was for me. But
Josh, we love you.
Yes, we do love Josh, and he's editing this episode.
He's like, I love you too. Jerk.
He's like, that's so rude. Anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Please check out the Kickstarter. We got until October 30th. We've seen awesome, cool stuff. A lot of passion behind Casey and the team and the cooks and the ingredients. Julie here already explaining the love that she got from it. I think Julie's secretly like an iron chef, and she's just very humble about it. But she also has said how easy it is if you're not confident in it. But also if you love ToeJam and Earl, which we know you do, because for those who aren't familiar with it, it's just a hard game that you can get behind. Yes, everyone check out all the things on our website, nerdon.tv. If you do like the episode and you do like the show, please support nerdon.tv /Patreon to join that Nerdon Nation. Nerdon.tv /Discord to be part of the conversation, baby. It's open to everybody. You can talk about the game. We can talk about food as well. ToeJam and Earl, they don't have to have the coolest Discord out in the world, although it sounds like it. But if you also check out our Instagram, Sleep and Slide, talk to us. We want to talk to you guys.
Say hello.
Say hello. And Caitlin's favorite thing, if you can't drop any dollars and all that stuff because of crazy times, just drop a review. It's like a warm Nintendo Switch sandwich greeting you in your bed, right, Caitlin?
It's delicious.
It's delicious. Thank you.
It's everything you wanted.
Yes. Thank you, Julie, for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank
you in general for being a great friend and a great video editor.
Yes. Everyone listening right now, you have to thank Julie as well, because without it, you wouldn't be able to see our everyone else's
faces.
beautiful face and then my loud face.
Okay,
I just upped everyone. I just try to push everyone, putting myself down, Caitlin. But I appreciate Julie. I appreciate this day. I appreciate Julie, and I appreciate everyone that's listening. So with that, that is it. Thank you, everyone. You know the drill. As always,
Nerd on.
Nerd on.
Ending broadcast.